So it really did start with a conversation that I had with our aunt in Venezuela. My mom is from Argentina. My husband comes from Venezuela. So I was speaking to his aunt there, and she was describing how she couldn't get anything on grocery store shelves. She wasn't able to get baby needs. It was difficult to get food, let alone things like pads and tampons. And she talked about how she wasn't finding pads for years. She hadn't even seen one in like 5 years. And it really got me thinking about our dependence on this disposable supply chain, these single use disposables that we have to use every month. And I looked for other products to be able to, solve the problem of period care. And I found reusable period care products for the first time, cups, discs, and period underwear. And, I had all the same questions people had, like, what are these? I've never seen these in my life. How does it fit? That's so big. And I like to look at this disc and say, well, it's not as big as a baby's head. So it does fit in there. But once I tried them out, I was blown away. I thought I was buying them as kind of an emergency situation for my family in Venezuela. And I was just blown away by how convenient and how comfortable they were. And I would forget that I was on my period when I wore them. And I quickly realized, okay, wait a minute, these are actually a better solution. They're a cleaner solution. They're a more comfortable solution. They're a more convenient solution. How come we're not using these as our daily go-to? And that's when I really realized this needs to get out to the world more. And at the time, there weren't a lot of good US made products. There weren't a lot of products that I could really trust. Some had, silicone fillers from China, a lot of Chinese brands on Amazon, and I had bought several to try out, but couldn't find one that really worked well with my anatomy and one that I could fully trust. And that's when I approached my husband and I said, I think we should make a menstrual cup company. And he's like, a what? I said, I want to get these products out to my daughters. We have 6 children. 5 of them are daughters. I had 5 at the time. Number 6 came along the journey, so we can talk about that. But I wanted products that I could trust, that I could give to them, that I could use for myself, that I would feel good about what was going in our bodies, and something that I could recommend to friends. And that's really how Saalt was born.
So, well, were you an entrepreneur before you had this idea? Had you launched other businesses? Because it's one thing to say, I think I have a better idea, but to just go to your husband and say, hey, let's launch a business. How did that conversation come about? Are you both entrepreneurs, or what was, like, I think, your background that gave you the confidence to say, I can just go and launch a business? Or are you like me, just so incredibly naive, you're like, I can literally do anything?
Combination of both. That's the answer. So we had done entrepreneurial ventures before. We did own it's so interesting. So we actually met doing a Brazilian martial art called capoeira. And capoeira at the time didn't have anything from, like, it had, white pants and instruments and so forth that were very difficult to get in the US. And so we developed an online store in the years previous where we were just, bringing these products in and giving them to our students that we taught this martial art to, which was really fun. And so we did have this e-commerce venture. So it wasn't our first go at an e-commerce venture. And then we'd also done a lot of real estate, flipped houses. So for all of our married life, my husband and I have worked together. We're still a husband and wife team. He's a co-founder with me. He's not as much in the scene, but he's so integral to our company as well, which is wonderful because we really need to get the men involved in these conversations to be able to break the taboos around menstruation. So I love working with him as my co-founder, and that experience did help us launch this company, but still it was an FDA regulated product, right? It was, I told my husband, comically, this is going to be a customer service nightmare because I would answer so many questions from my friends when I would try to talk about reusable period care. But I was a technical writer before. That was where my major was. I was an English major with an editing emphasis, and I, had really focused on technical writing. And technical writing is just taking something that's really ambiguous and big and difficult to understand and making it easy to understand for the layman consumer. And so that's really what this problem was as well. It was an education problem. The products worked amazing, and generally people can get it within 2 to 3 cycles, and the underwear is just even easier. They just want to know how to wash it, and that's it. But we needed to be able to educate through infographics, through how-to videos, through, our instruction manuals and all of these different areas on social and little tidbits. And that's something I could do. So I did have the confidence that I could bring the education.